Goons belonging to Florida Governor Ron DeSantis arrested whistleblower Rebecca Jones last week for attempting to give the factual reality of coronavirus in her state of Florida. So now this is according to an article by Ars Technica. Florida police arrested former state data scientist Rebecca Jones and accused her of breaking state law prohibiting accessing of computer systems without authorization. So I'm going to get to why that is complete garbage, okay, later on in this story. So now we found out about this arrest warrant on Saturday. So she wrote in a series of tweets that she and her lawyer had arranged with Florida police in order to turn herself in to law enforcement. She didn't want to be, somebody out there who was evading the law, even though she says that she maintains innocence. Now, Jones had actually been able to post bail, about $2,500, and also she had tested positive for COVID-19 while in police custody. So this is somebody, of course, who's been fighting against the spread of COVID-19 and also against the spread of misinformation. And it sucks to see her actually suffer now from COVID-19, something that she's tried to save countless Floridians from being able to get. So now, that said, the warrant alleges that Jones had gained unauthorized access to the State Department of Health systems back in November to send an unauthorized message to employees and to download a list of contact information for approximately 19,000 people. Jones had built and managed Florida's COVID-19 data dashboard from its launch in March until about May 5th, at which, that point, her and her team were removed from the project. Later that month, Jones had publicly said that she was not only removed from the dashboard project, but also fired because she refused to manipulate COVID-19 data in order to support the governor's plan to reopen the state. So, they wanted to reopen the state. They wanted to reopen businesses, restaurants, corporations, despite the fact that the pandemic was doing incredibly bad in Florida. It's still doing incredibly bad all over the country. Now, since she was fired and removed and had come out publicly, ended up launching her own independent COVID data reporting platform, which was aimed, of course, helping people get the true information about case numbers and especially case numbers when it comes to children. And so, in schools. So that said, okay, the message that was allegedly sent that the police believe was from her was this. On November 10th, an unknown person sent an unauthorized message to roughly 1,750 members of a Florida Department of Health emergency response team. That message urged recipients to speak up before another 17,000 people are dead, adding, quote, this is wrong. You don't have to be a part of this. Be a hero. Speak out before it's too late. Based. Not only based, but whoever sent that message is a badass. I'm just saying. Now, DeSantis, okay, he is a political coward, all right? We know, because he did this to suck up to Donald Trump. Of course he did. Now, Donald Trump didn't care about the millions of people that are being affected by COVID-19, the hundreds of thousands of people that have died from COVID-19. No, doesn't really care. And neither did DeSantis about the thousands of people, tens of thousands, that have died in his state. All they wanted to do, and really it's because of the donors, they wanted to send people back to work. Hey, man, let's send everybody back to work, even though the situation is really not safe. And it's a ridiculous, plan, because they think, well, of course, the only reason that the economy is not picking up is because people are locked down. So let's open it back up. Let's open up all the restaurants, without realizing that because of COVID, people don't really want to go out to eat. People don't really want to risk themselves. Most people don't. And the people that are left over are often the worst people. I remember talking about, a story where the people that are going to restaurants right now in places that have opened up generally don't tip or are very rude, and also ask people workers to remove their masks to figure out whether or not they want to actually give them a tip. I mean, it's so ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Now, investigators had probed the unauthorized message, and by early December, they believed that Jones was the suspect. And then, of course, state police had raided her home the first week of December to seize electronic devices. I showed you the video of that. That was very disturbing. It was very distressing. She was saying that, hey, you're pointing guns in my face. You're pointing guns at my children. What are you doing in order to go and raid this? And Twitter thread after it happened, she said this: they took my phone and the computer I use every day to post the case numbers in Florida and school cases for the entire country. They took the evidence of corruption at the state level. This was DeSantis. He sent the Gestapo. This is DeSantis's Florida. True. Look, this is what happens when you have the authoritarian right. They wanted the data so they could use it for political correctness. They wanted to make sure that she couldn't actually put out the truth. Again, since she was gone, she has been, putting out her own information, based on the actual case numbers that she was able to get. DeSantis has been basically hiding. His administration has been hiding these numbers, has not been talking about them, and has been making sure that any numbers that get released from them officially fit their narrative of, oh, we've got super low cases here in Florida. We should be able to open it back up. Not a problem. Just open it back up. Just open it back up. And in fact, this was a good example of political correctness. The president himself had said, open it up. It's not that bad. You're going to be fine. Don't worry about it. Open up the economy. It's time. It's time. We can't let the cure be greater than the disease, be worse than the disease. And I understand that there are issues with lockdowns. I get it. I get it. There are issues, of course, and we've seen plenty of instances of like depression, people not being able to make enough money to live. Those are disastrous things. Stuff that we can actually do something about, but also lack of social contact. Children being stunted in their social growth, that also sucks. Having difficulties with online courses instead of in-person courses, those are also terrible things. Understand, though, that if people had just one solid, not half-assed, but one solid, nice lockdown for a little while, and everybody had adhered to masks, we would actually be in a lot better shape. There are countries right now where COVID is done. It's basically over with. They're going back to, they're going out to eat. They're having movie nights, and they're visiting their their families, their grandparents. We're not doing that here because we didn't do what was necessary to actually control this virus. Instead, we just kind of acted like it didn't exist under the direction of Republicans. And so, I mean, that's the mistake that we made. All right. So there's one other thing that I found really interesting about this as well. So, and I kind of prefaced it early on in the video. And it was a statute that Jones was accused of violating in that arrest warrant. So here's what it says. It prohibits anyone from willfully, knowingly, and without authorization or exceeding authorization, accesses or causes to be accessed any computer system, computer network, or electronic device with knowledge that such access is unauthorized or the manner that of use exceeds authorization. So basically, if you don't have that authorization, if you don't have the correct, like things to get in, the username, password, etc., then breaching this or logging in is bad, very bad. But here's the thing, all right. Jones, as Ars Technica reported this time, not only do thousands of state employees share the same username and password, they all share the password for accessing the system Jones allegedly breached, but also the credentials for accessing that system were publicly available on the internet for anyone to find and use. This was open data. This was open information. You could go and sign in anytime, anywhere. anyone. So how did they determine that it was Rebecca Jones? Really? She denies it. She says, look, I didn't do this. Maybe it was, and maybe it was her, maybe it wasn't her. All right? Maybe it was somebody inspired by what Jones was doing. In fact, here's what she said on this. She said that Florida police found no evidence of a message sent last November to DOH staff telling them to speak out on any devices they took. The entire basis for the raid on my home in December, she wrote on Twitter. Yeah. The raid was based on a lie. Still, the state has issued a warrant for my arrest, even though the crime is not related to the warrant, scope of the warrant, and that they didn't wait for a third party to review confidential information on my computers. So it might not even been heard, or hers. Wasn't even hers. Either way, though, whoever sent the message, it was the right thing to do. To stand up against the DeSantis administration, who was doing political propaganda. I mean, and this entire thing, targeting this woman, is nothing but political retribution against a whistleblower who embarrassed the people in power by actually trying to save lives. They didn't like that she was running the dashboard, showing the true numbers, the politically inconvenient numbers that didn't line up with their narrative. And that's why they went after her. They harassed her, menaced her kids, arrested her, threatened her, all that. This is why this is happening. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and share with your friends. You can subscribe and help out the channel by becoming a patron. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf, or you can become a channel member as well by hitting the join button below.